Welcome to Hero Villains. Thank you for always watching and supporting the channel. Who do you think will win in the ultimate mutant showdown? Vulcan and Storm. Vulcan, whose real name is Gabriel Summers, the younger brother of Cyclops and Havok, possesses the ability to manipulate all forms of energy: electricity, heat, light, nuclear, magic, biological, and even psionic energy. He can absorb, control, and release energy on a planetary scale, defeating many Omega-level mutants and even killing 2 Shi'ar elders with pure strength. Vulcan is not only powerful, but also a ruthless, reckless warrior, once ruling the entire Shi'ar Empire. Storm, or Ororo Munroe, is the embodiment of the sky, an Omega mutant who can control the entire weather system on Earth, from tornadoes, rainstorms, lightning, to snowstorms and atmospheric pressure. Not only is she a natural powerhouse, she is also a genius strategist, having led the X-Men and Wakanda. Storm combines destructive power with a compassionate heart, making her a symbol of pride and control. Before we dive into the analysis, please click the subscribe button. Please remember to turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thank you very much! Vulcan is a being with the ability to absorb, manipulate, and release various types of energy, including cosmic energy, a form of energy that can only be harnessed by beings of extraordinary power. Not only allows him to unleash devastating attacks, but also allows him to absorb energy from other sources to restore or increase his strength, making him one of the most dangerous opponents anyone has ever faced. Vulcan can fly at supersonic speeds, allowing him to perform lightning attacks or retreat when necessary, with enough power to defeat even high-level superheroes. His body can withstand extreme physical damage and is virtually immune to many forms of energy attacks. As a mutant of the Omega level, Vulcan is feared not only for his physical and energy strength, but also for his psychic resistance. When Emma Frost, one of the world's most powerful telepaths and an Omega level mutant, attempted to read his mind, she was instantly struck down by his own mind. His psychic powers were not only defensive, but could also create counter effects within the mental space. Even a near-invincible being like Adam Warlock admitted that he could not stand up to Vulcan head-on. In one encounter, Warlock made it clear that even his powerful shield was no match for the energy Vulcan possessed, the same energy that Havok, who had defeated the Hulk, had used. And in a battle that shook the universe, Vulcan defeated Black Bolt, forcing the Inhuman King to scream an act that could destroy an entire city. Vulcan is a powerful psychic being, able to manipulate not only the physical world around him, but also the environment, and even sense the presence of enemies without needing to see them with the naked eye. With such precise and sophisticated control, he can move a multi-ton object with a single glance, or stop an incoming weapon in an instant. Vulcan is also capable of sensing energy fluctuations in the universe at large ranges. He has a heightened awareness of fluctuations occurring in space, allowing him to react to astronomical phenomena before they affect reality. Vulcan once led the Imperial Guard of the Shi'ar Empire, and is also a formidable strategist. He can analyze the battlefield, predict enemy actions, and make extremely accurate tactical decisions in a short period of time. Vulcan's most notable abilities are his ability to control all forms of energy, from light, heat, electricity, to radiation and shockwaves. He can project energy beams across the entire electromagnetic spectrum, from visible light to destructive gamma rays. Vulcan can also create explosions with tremendous concussive force, enough to crack the ground or blow away solid structures in a wide radius. He can launch energy attacks at long range without the need for a visible power source nearby. He can not only create energy from the void and use it with great precision, but he can also create and transform it at will. His most unique ability is to survive in the vacuum of outer space for long periods of time without any support of vital energy or protection. Vulcan can convert his voice into pure energy, which can then be amplified or transmitted through communication channels such as sound waves, light, or even microscopic energy networks. This allows him to create highly directional attacks or spread them in a resonant manner, leaving the target defenseless. Vulcan's ability to manipulate the nervous system also shows incredible sophistication. He can put people into a state of instantaneous trance by interrupting the bioelectricity in their brains. And he can even repair damage to the neural pathways of people with brain injuries, restoring their consciousness as a form of energy healing. Vulcan also demonstrates a mastery of environmental energy manipulation. He can control any energy source that is emitted around him, from the smallest electrical leakage to the massive energy beams in battle. He can also bend the trajectory of those attacks, causing them to avoid obstacles and reach their targets with pinpoint accuracy. Vulcan often deploys multiple energy beams at once, each programmed to target a specific target. He can attack a group of opponents while also intercepting threats coming from behind. Every movement of energy seems to have an intelligence of its own, but is actually completely under his control, as if Vulcan were conducting a war orchestra with his own will. He can radiate radiation across the electromagnetic spectrum and even manipulate some of its strange variants, such as Cyclops' optic beams or Adam Warlock's magical energy. Vulcan is an extremely powerful mutant with a unique set of skills, making him an important figure in the Marvel Universe, especially in the cosmic and mutant world. His combination of energy, manipulation, physical strength, and tactical intelligence has placed him among the top mutants. Despite his immense power, Vulcan is not without his weaknesses. His emotional state can affect his ability to control his powers, and he has struggled with his identity and family legacy, which can lead to conflicts with other characters. I really hope you subscribe to the channel. It will help us a lot, and moreover, you will see great videos every day. You are the best. Thank you very much. Storm is one of the rare mutants who possesses vast and versatile weather powers. She has the ability to create and control a variety of meteorological phenomena, including violent thunderstorms, tropical storms, fierce blizzards, and even devastating tornadoes. Each phenomenon she summons is a tool of war that can be precisely controlled by her every thought and reflex. When Storm commands the sky to shake, thunder and lightning roar like the angry roar of an ancient god. Through her ability to manipulate air and pressure, Storm can fly by controlling the wind currents to lift her body into the air. She glides through the sky like a living arrow in the midst of the storm, using her height and speed to overwhelm her enemies from above. Storm's abilities are not limited to the field of weather. She has demonstrated the ability to manipulate electromagnetic fields, allowing her to enhance the destructive power of lightning bolts or disrupt and destroy electronic equipment in the area. When Storm focuses her energy, the lightning she guides becomes so precise and powerful that it can penetrate the armor of a war machine. No electronic system can function properly under her interference. While a master weatherman, Storm is not lacking in hand-to-hand combat skills. She is a trained warrior, with a background as a thief who survived the most dangerous streets. As such, Storm relies not only on her superhuman strength, but also on her ability to fight in energy-free environments, using her reflexes, speed, and agility to overwhelm her opponents at close range. The lightning she generates has an intensity of up to 1 billion volts, with enough heat to heat the surrounding air 6 times hotter than the surface of the sun. Each bolt of lightning is not just a weapon, but a symbol of absolute power. When she summons it from the sky, the atmosphere vibrates, the light spreading out like a miniature solar flare, repelling any enemies in her path. Ororo can disable an enemy's respiratory system by depriving them of the air around them. During a confrontation with the Wakandan forces, she easily suffocated an entire squad of elite soldiers with a wave of her hand, the air being sucked away as if the sky itself refused to let them live. She has complete control over the air, the temperature, pressure, and movement of every particle in the atmosphere. When a macroscopic storm hovered 70 stories above Rockefeller Center, Storm summoned the fundamental forces that make up the weather to warp its structure, changing the entire trajectory of the giant mass of air. In an incident involving Selene Gallio, after Selene failed to usurp Magneto's seat on the council, she created a monstrous entity and unleashed it to cause chaos in the mutant nation. To deal with this threat, Storm summoned a series of lightning bolts, directing them to strike the monster's head. The force of the strike was so great that the head was completely severed, turning it into a charred, smoking mass of flesh in the middle of a stormy night. She also possesses the ability to freeze her enemies to the point where their blood stops responding. When using her hypothermia powers, Storm can freeze every cell in an opponent's body, completely paralyzing them for a moment. The air around her is constantly adjusted, creating a layer of pressure that acts as an invisible force field. During her battle with Iceman, she used this pressure to bend the opponent's attacks, causing ice crystals to fly off course without touching her. Storm's anger once reached the point of burning away part of the atmosphere, creating a vast aurora across the sky, bright enough to be seen from every corner of the planet. Storm can summon multiple bolts of lightning and is fast enough to react to laser attack. Ororo raises the temperature of the environment by 20 degrees, causing asphyxiation and eventually creating an explosion that causes heat stroke in those around her. She creates an elemental cosmic disturbance that shields the entire planet from solar radiation. She is an energy manipulator and was able to overpower a Vulcan shell through a battle of wills, while later admitting that she went easy on him. In a moment of power, she summoned a massive tsunami, combined with a raging rain of lightning that engulfed the abandoned island of Genosha and wiped Cassandra Nova off the face of the earth. The sight was nothing short of apocalyptic. Columns of water rose like silver dragons, devouring everything in their path, while hundreds of lightning bolts crisscrossed like punishing nets from the collapsing sky. Storm can survive and hold her ground in environments scorched by massive energy blasts that cover an area as large as a continent. Vulcan's fury shows the sheer scale of the destruction, yet Storm stands firm, encased in a protective shield of pressure, heat, and aerodynamic force, making her impenetrable. Storm often needs only a single weapon-grade storm to obliterate an entire city. She doesn't need much effort to destroy combat units spread across a city. A wave of tornadoes, a few targeted bolts of lightning, and an entire squad disintegrates in a flash of lightning from a pitch-black storm. When Earth is invaded by Knul and his army of giant, dragon-like symbiotes, Storm stands up to them without hesitation. While many other superheroes must focus all their strength to hold off individual symbiotes, she confronts an entire army. Ororo unleashed lightning bolts of such intensity that they shook the atmosphere, causing the sky to split as if ripped open by the hand of an ancient god. The strike not only destroyed the symbiote army, but also created a shockwave so powerful that nearby Avengers were knocked off their feet. Scarlet Witch, Vision, Iron Man, and even Thor, the names carrying the weight of the cosmos, were caught in the unintentional lightning blast and blown off their feet. It was undeniable proof that Storm did not need weapons or armor to be a planetary threat. And she literally destroyed an X-Jet flying over New York with a massive bolt of lightning while thousands of miles away. The enemies acknowledged that Ororo's storms could move worlds, and that her lightning was powerful enough to shatter them into dust. Ororo reminds Iceman that she is also an Omega when it comes to hydrokinetics and ice magic, which is impressive considering Iceman, who is also an Omega in that category, can move around the planet with ease and has demonstrated that when he lets loose, he has the ability to freeze space and time on a quantum level. Storm pushes out energies that render the alien powerless, and this alien is capable of creating vast black holes on the surface of the Earth. She is simply a force of nature, carrying the fury of the sky, ready to explode whenever justice and life are threatened. On a neutral planet at the far edge of the galaxy, where the atmosphere is in a state of constant unrest, natural electromagnetic energy streams constantly release and collide. Like invisible rivers of fire, the battle between two supreme entities takes place. Vulcan, arrogant by nature, steps out with an arrogant stance. He looks down on the entities from Earth, viewing Storm as a low-level climate controller, not worthy of his full strength. With cold eyes and a calm expression, he strikes first without warning. A huge electromagnetic energy stream is released from his palm, sweeping across the ground and tearing apart the entire landscape within a radius of kilometers. The planet's surface shakes as if it is screaming. Rocks and dust rise into fiery red columns. Storm is forced to defend, right from the first seconds of the confrontation. She does not respond hastily. Soaring through the chaotic sky, she skillfully navigates through the howling energy streams. The clouds she pulled together were like giant silk ribbons, from which rain fell in torrents, thunder boomed, and winds cut through space like invisible blades. But, despite her skillful manipulation of the climate and her relentless attacks, Storm was still forced into a passive position by the destructive atomic energy that Vulcan controlled. His power seemed to penetrate every layer of defense, and each wave of energy exploded like a miniature sun in the sky. Storm changed tactics. She gradually blended into the planet's atmosphere, dissolving into the dense clouds and drawing from the environment the strongest natural electric currents. By summoning extremely charged lightning bolts and directing them in complex diffraction sequences, she disrupted Vulcan's energy perception field. The electromagnetic layers Storm created began to collide and overlap, creating a resonance effect that shocked the brains of those who tried to read the surrounding energy. Vulcan began to lose control for a moment, his blast becoming misdirected and inaccurate. His arrogance turned to a frown. And for the first time since the battle began, he realized that Storm was not simply a weather controller, she was part of the atmosphere itself. Storm entered the ultimate state known as Godhead, a divine state in which she was no longer confined to the form of a mutant. She was completely at one with the spirit of the climate, connecting with every raindrop, every gust of wind, and every bolt of lightning that roared across the chaotic planet. Vulcan, sensing the tides turning, immediately tried to regain control. He poured all his will into absorbing the surrounding energies, trying to pull every ray of heat, light, and electricity from the atmosphere into his body to amplify his power. But the more he absorbed, the more lost he became in the maze of energies Storm was leading. Every current, every movement of air was now under her absolute control. Storm focused all of her electrical energy into a single point. A giant bolt of lightning shot down from the sky, piercing the dense clouds like a spear of light straight into the center of the energy shield that surrounded Vulcan. The light was so powerful that it lit up the entire sky like day, and then in an instant, the entire sky was plunged into darkness. Vulcan's energy shield exploded into fiery fragments, and his body was sent flying high into the air, flying out of the atmosphere like a meteor rejected by the planet itself. Vulcan passed out in the air, helpless against the fact that he could no longer absorb or radiate any form of energy. Not a single scream, not a last glimmer of resistance. And victory belonged to Storm. Hope you enjoyed this fight. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Follow me if you like. That's today's video. Thanks a lot.